Hello, how are you all doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Corinne Clapham, Intuitive Wellness Coach. I'm also a Reiki Master, Yoga and Meditation Facilitator, Sound Healer, and co-creator, co-founder of Inner Paradise, where we focus on getting to the root of what has been causing your emotional and physical discomfort and pain. And I use a myriad of natural modalities to clear and release that on an energetic, cellular, and soul level. I also do astrology readings, psychic readings, and mediumship. And I'm connecting with you right now to talk about the full moon and also Mercury and retrograde and one other retrograde. We have a couple of retrogrades going on, but the two main ones and what they mean for you, how that it's affecting us individually and collectively, and what are some tips and tools that's going to help you move and shift through it a little bit more smoother. Okay, my friends. So we have the full moon coming up October 31st. This is very interesting. It lands on Halloween. This is also called a blue moon because it's 2 moons in 1 month, which doesn't happen too often. Normally we have 1 full moon and 1 new moon in 1 month. And so we had the first full moon October 1st. So a full moon, just to back it up for a moment here, a full moon is when we're really looking at things that we want to clear and release. If you think about the full moon, it's at its brightest, it's going to be shining down upon us and illuminating all the shadow aspects within us. And then when we have the new moon, that's really when we're shifting into a new phase and we want to focus on the manifestations that we want to bring in. And so it's really interesting this month because we started off the month in a full moon. We started off really having our shadows being shown and more amplified, which is really an opportunity for us to heal those old wounds and to make those decisions if we want to continue on with the patterns and habits we've been living. And then we had the new moon, which was October 16th. And so now this Saturday, October 31st, we have the full moon and it's going to be in the sign of Taurus. So really what this is allotting you to do, this is a second chance for you to really be able to do the clearing that needs to happen. And there's a lot that's been shifting this year. We've had a lot of retrogrades going on this year. I'll talk about the 2 main ones that we have going on, and then the rest of the retrogrades, I usually will go in more detail in the full moon awakening, which I'll tell you more about later if you're interested in that. But, so we have the the blue moon, which means the second moon, and it's on Halloween. This is also a time of Samhain, and so this originated from Celtic many, many centuries ago, and the belief is this is the time where the spiritual realm are trying to come in a lot stronger. This is where the veil between the physical realm, us being physical, we're here in real life, human life, and then the spiritual realm, the veil is at its thinnest. And so there's a couple of different elements going on here. This is really going to be an opportunity for not only our own individual healing, but this is also going to kick up a lot of patterns that has been playing out in our lives, but also in our ancestral lineage. And so this is really a time to go pretty deep into our ancestral healing, because what happens is a lot of traumas and a lot of patterns and a lot of unhealthy belief systems get passed down onto the family, the immediate family, to the kids, and it continues to go. And the thing is when it's not healed, sometimes that trauma and those patterns and habits, addictions, whatever, like all these different things that can have a lower vibration outcome tend to still be within the lineage. And so this is really a time to take a good look at what has been going on, what has been your patterns. And sometimes you might feel really strong emotions or have very strong fears, and there doesn't seem to be a valid reason where they came from. Like sometimes we have fears because we went through a bad experience. And so that got us guarded, or it invoked fear. But when we don't have that experience in this lifetime, sometimes what it can come from either our past lifetimes, or again, it can be passed down. So something, for example, like abandonment, maybe you didn't experience, maybe you experienced abandonment in some ways, but not to a way where you're like, wow, I wonder why this is so prominent in this lifetime and such a heavy feeling. And so sometimes that could be something back in the lineage that is still being within the DNA, I guess you could say, which I do believe you can shift and change. So don't feel at a loss if you're like, well, it's in my blood, it's never going to change. I personally feel that's inaccurate. Anything can shift and change. So looking at the full moon that we have in the sign of Taurus. Now let's talk about Mercury and retrograde. That started, by the way, this is the last retrograde we have 2020. So you can, if you know anything about Mercury retrograde, you completely relax in that, knowing that. So this last one, this is the third one of 2020. And this started October 13th, this third phase. This last phase of the Mercury retrograde started October 13th, and it goes till November 3rd, which is very interesting because November 3rd, 2020 is when the US has the election. So this is going to be very interesting. And the reason why that is because a lot of the things that are going up above there can really affect and have a trajectory on what's going down here on Earth individually and collectively. And so when we look at the planets, this is why I look at them, I think they're very important, is because it can give us very strong indications of what's going on. And when we know that, then we have more of a heads up and we can understand what's going on. It may not be personal, it's just kind of like a theme that's going on. And then we know how to, we just know how to better tend to it, so we're not being controlled by it and feeling like we're in the chaos. We can be more stable, more grounded and balanced throughout it. And so going back to this Mercury retrograde, it started off October 13th in the sign of Scorpio. So quite heavy energy there. And let me explain what Mercury retrograde is first. So each planet has its own themes and its own characteristics. And so Mercury is really about communication, about travel, about technology. And this is probably why Mercury gets such a bad rap, because these are very big fundamental things we're always dealing with. This is why you'll probably hear people talking about their technology going down. And I've seen it the past couple of days where people on Facebook have mentioned their whatever it is that we're trying to do, they were having hiccups in it technologically. And sometimes our travel plans can go a little bit haywire. Communication can definitely go haywire. So what's happening when a planet goes retrograde, it starts to slow down. It almost has the illusion it is going backwards, or it is shifting back. And so it starts to shift back into the other planets, or sorry, the other zodiac signs. And so it's almost like the planets move. I heard this analogy and I really liked it, so I'm going to share it. But it's like the planet is moving forward, but then it forgot something. It forgot to resolve something, or it has to go back and get something or heal something. And so it stops and it starts to move backwards. And so sometimes it'll go back into the last sign, the zodiac sign, or it will orbit even more depending on the time frame that's there. So it started off retrograding in Scorpio, which can really bring up a lot of stuff with communication. Like I said, I have a lot of different things going on in my head at the same time right now. I'm trying to think of how I can best and easily and clearly describe this, because the other thing that we have is Mars in retrograde. And so that's kind of added a whole different layer to all of this. And Mars in retrograde, it was September 9th, and that goes till November 13th. And that was in the fire sign of Aries. And so between the two, because Mars can be about passion and ambition, but it can also be, because it was in the sign Aries, which can be a little bit fiery. And also some of the characteristics of Mars could be like aggression or war and conflict. And then we had zodiac sign characteristics of Aries, which could be competitive and courageous. And so a lot of things might have come up for you lately, the past couple months or the past month. A lot of memories might have come up for you. Um, Maybe some very vivid dreams. I don't really like to call them dreams, but things have been playing out in your sleeping state. And so a lot of emotions might have been coming up. And so it's really started to kick up a lot of things with these energies that we have with the retrogrades, but also with this full moon that's coming up. So there's a lot of different layers of intense energies that are really compiling up. And so during this month, even though a lot of things are coming up, a lot of memories are coming up, a lot of old emotions are coming up, we may feel like we want to address a lot of things with the people where the memories have come up, or maybe there's issues in relationships, past relationships, siblings, family, what have you, friendships. But this month, because things are kind of shifting in a different direction, the way you are feeling and your perspective on things right now are going to be different than when retrograde starts to go direct again. So this month, I would almost utilize the side of the Scorpio energy where it really likes to have its time for solitude and reflection, but not so much a time to really like communicate and hash things out. Like I would almost suggest, of course, if you feel like you need to do it, but we really want to watch our words a lot more during Mercury in retrograde, because communication can be a little funky. And so not only do we want to watch how we're communicating, it's also when people are communicating with us, even if it's not the most pleasant, it's kind of like, you know what, just leave it be. Like if you're going through big situations, like sibling rivalry or something like that, or friendship, my suggestion really with that during this time is to hand it up to the universe and wrap it in white light. Wrap yourself in white light, wrap the other person in white light, and just almost, you can imagine it just being in the hands of your angels or universe or whoever you believe in, and it'll be worked out. It'll be tended to. It's in a place of purity in the meantime. So when we go direct, then, like I said, your perspectives are going to shift and change. So that's going to be coming from a more rooted place rather than right now where a lot of stuff's being kicked up and it's just chaotic and we're not really seeing or thinking things as clearly as it could be. We also have to remember there's the post shadow too. So we have the Mercury retrograde goes direct November 3rd, and then it has the post shadow. There's always a pre shadow and post shadow of the retrogrades, and that will be going until November 19th. What does a pre shadow and post shadow mean? So here's another analogy I want to use that I heard from someone I thought was really great. When we are traveling and we're going somewhere and we come back from vacation, we always need a couple of days to really get back in our routine. We need a couple of days to, get back into our sleeping rhythm, back into our own bed, unpack, get back to work, and kind of get back into that energy and that flow. It's the same kind of thing with the retrogrades. It's been moving backwards, and now it's almost got that one moment where it stops and then it starts moving forward again. And it needs that time to get its rhythm and back on like this very accurate, balanced, stable energy and flow, if that makes sense for you. And so even though, yes, we're going to be out of the retrograde, there might still be a little bit of haze, a bit of like debris, almost like a hangover. It's like you're not still drunk, but you're feeling a little like, whew. It's the same kind of thing. And so there's something else. There's two things I wanted to say about that. November 19th. Okay, November 3rd is when Mercury goes retrograde. That is also when the moon will be in the sign of Gemini. And Mercury is also, so each zodiac sign is affiliated with a planet as well. So for Gemini, that is Mercury. So sometimes that can be a little bit more enhanced. And again, this is about communication, technology, commerce, travel. And so there's going to be another layer of energy again. This is not to fear. Again, when we know these things, then we can put into place things that are going to help. So some tips and tools that can help you through the Mercury in retrograde. If you know that travel, communication, commerce, communication, I already said that, communication, travel, commerce can be a little like wonky, then like I said, with the communication, we want to be more mindful of how we are expressing ourselves and really, really check ourselves, like what our intention is and where we're coming from. Um, and just kind of just take it easy, in terms of even what other people are delivering as well. With travel, you want to allow yourself more time than you usually would. I know a lot of people aren't traveling as much anymore via planes because we're going through this thing called COVID virus, and a lot of places are kind of locked down right now, and only essential travel with that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, if you have flights, you definitely want to double check your itinerary, make sure there's no changes, make sure you didn't skip a beat with that. Leave yourself definitely more time in case traveling to and from the airport. And this is just an example, right? Like if you're going on a road trip or work, you just might want to leave yourself a little bit more time. And the thing is when we start to give ourselves these more buffers with these things, then we are going to be less stressed because there is going to be the allotted time that if there is a hiccup that we have some time to play with. We're not like going to miss a flight or this and that, right? So if we start implementing these things, then we can make the experience hopefully a lot smoother. I want to go back to what I was talking about, how Mercury goes into the zodiac of Scorpio when it first went into retrograde October 13th. I believe October 27th, Mercury retrograde shifts in from Scorpio into Libra. And so Libra is all about, and this is interesting because, like I said, we have the US elections coming up. And so Libra is all about balance, it's all about justice, it's all about peace. Um, you know, Libra is a lot more diplomatic in how they communicate, whereas Scorpio can be quite sharp and very honest and very like, Scorpio energy can have a hard time in letting go of things as well. So it can keep, what's the word I'm looking for? Like when they're upset, they can keep that energy for a long time. And so, uh, sorry, I totally got sidetracked looking outside. Someone was just laying on the ground and then they got up and walked away. It's the most random thing. Just making sure they're okay. They look like they're okay. But anyways, so we had quite a very different kind of energy with Scorpio and then now with Libra. And now that we're shifting closer to the elections, it'll be very interesting because it's a very different energy that we're going to be feeling and playing with. Um, See, there's a difference between us playing with that energy or getting played by the energy, right? So now that you have the awareness, now you know how to play with it rather than feeling like it's happening to you and you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And so with the election, it's going to be very interesting. And my biggest suggestion to people, because here's the thing, there's a lot of emotions that are circulating a lot individually and collectively. We are also connected very much, so we do feel these ripples of these collective energies that are coming. And so there's a couple of tips I want to tell you about that. One, always check in what you're feeling. Is it yours? Especially if you're an empath or highly sensitive or sensitive. And what I mean by that, you're pretty tuned into other people's emotions and what's going on. Chances are you probably have a hard time even watching like violent shows or movies or even the news if you're empathic or highly sensitive. And so always check in. If you're feeling like this big surge of emotion coming up, you can just ask, is this mine? And usually if it's not, you'll either hear a message saying it's not, or you'll feel it dissipate out, or you might get a visual or an image. Everybody's gets their communication from their guides a different way. So whatever that is for you, usually I can feel it dissipate out, or I'll hear a message. The other day, 2 days ago, I had a lot of emotions coming up and I asked, is this mine? And the answer was, yes, it was. So if you get that, that's okay too, but allow it to come up because there's a lot of stuff that's being shook in for it to come up to the surface and be released. We don't want to keep avoiding it and pushing it back down because eventually it's going to have to come back up. So just allowing it to come up, allowing to have that release. Sometimes our emotions just want to be acknowledged just like we do, right? And once we're acknowledged, we're like, okay, we're good now. You know what I mean? So allow that process to happen. Going back here again. So there is a lot of different emotions going on. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of fear that's going on. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of anger for a lot of different reasons. And you can see in 2020, we've already had a myriad of different uh, pivotal things that, the foundations just weren't working anymore and it's time to change. You could see that with the Black Lives Matter. You could see it with, things are finally coming out with the amount of pedophilia that's been going on. This virus thing is kicking up a lot of stuff in terms of what's going on. And, there's just a lot of things that are going on. And so that's bringing up a lot of emotions for a lot of people and people are feeling it. And so with this, I know it's going to be an interesting time during the elections. I don't like to talk too much about politics, and I normally don't, but this is a very pivotal point. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we're going to be feeling it. We're going to be feeling it. Like, regardless which way it goes, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming up. And so I just want to share some tips. I just want to share this reminder that regardless of what's going on, because it is very easy to get pulled in to the drama, whether it's with the politics, whether it's maybe in your circle of friends, within the family, whatever, this time, during this whole time right now, this month, is very easy, stronger than ever, to get pulled into a lower vibration. And when we're in a lower vibration, we're not feeling our best. We're definitely probably indulging in things that are not the healthiest for us. It just kind of snowballs down. And so it's very important to have the awareness when you are just seeing what's going on and then having that barometer and how it makes you feel. Because people always have this belief that we have to be up with current affairs, and by that you have to watch the news all the time. That's an old belief system. And the fact is, if your mental health is getting compromised, don't do it. That always comes number one. Without your mental health, you don't have anything. So have that barometer of when you're watching this, or when you're on this social media, or maybe this person's profile, or reading this, or whatever it is, have that awareness how it makes you feel. Have that awareness, how do you end up leaving? When you leave, when you're done watching that, or leaving this place, or leaving hanging out with this person, how do you feel? If you're feeling more negativity, more stronger emotions, more lower vibration, more energy sapped, then it's your choice if you're going to continue to engage in that or not. And so it's the same thing. Everybody's got to be in control of their own decisions. And with that is the awareness first, and then your conscious choice, what you want to do. And you might have had an old pattern playing out, especially if it's people pleasing, where it might be scary to make that change, but mental health comes first. And so the big thing I want to say with the elections, whether you're in the States or not, because this is a pretty big pivotal point that's not going to just affect the States. And it doesn't even matter if it will or not. We are all connected. These are our brothers and sisters there, even if you live on the other side of the world and you don't even know one person who's there. So what we need to do, and for the other countries as well, is to remember to hold the highest vision. Because what keeps happening, what has happened in the past, is that people get so riled up, and understandably so, because it brings up a lot of injustice. It brings up a lot of stuff, a lot of these things that people are I don't like using the word fighting for, but a lot of people are advocating for positive change. There's a lot of deep emotion within that stuff. And I feel it too, but we have to remember, what is it that we are striving for? What is the highest vision? Never underestimate holding the highest vision. Because some people will say, oh, if you believe in this, you need to go out and you need to riot, or you need to fight, or you need to say this. Not everybody helps in that way. Everybody's got their different ways in how they do it. And holding the highest vision is something we can all do. So it's not even saying, okay, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and this person gets elected, and that's going to look like this. We can just look at the bigger picture, and what is it that we want? Look at the emotions that we want to feel. What is it that you think we want to feel on a collective? We want to feel peace. We want to feel safe. We want to feel justice. We want to feel community. We want to feel like we have a voice and we can together all move together in a positive direction that's going to be the greater good for all of us and Mother Nature and Mother Earth. So we don't have to figure out, it's just like manifesting, we don't have to figure out how it's going to happen. All we have to do is tap into what that image, that vision is, and tap into the emotion. What would it feel like if what it is that we desire is already here? Because a lot of people think that once I get this, then I will feel this. Once I have this money, I will feel happy. But it's quite the contrary. We want to tap into the emotion of that happiness. And when we're in that vibration, then we tend to attract more things that align and provoke that vibration, that energy, that feeling. And so it's really important to also hold that vision and to invoke it and to feel it. And so there we have it. The last retrograde of 2020. Mars retrograde is going to be ending its retrograde November 13th. So this month and next month is pretty strong. It's pretty strong. I think we're more than halfway through it. And mid-November, I feel like things are going to cool down a bit. But like I said, we all have to do our part, because if we're all connected and if we're all just feeling and thinking all these negative thoughts, it just really ripples out. So the more that we can stand in our light, stand in our peace, that will also ripple out more. So if there's more people that are feeling this peace and this light, this will over succeed it. The light will always win. How? Doesn't matter, but we can focus on each action step as an individual person and as a collective. So there we have it, my friends. Really go with the ebb and flow, because from moment to moment, day to day, our energies are shifting. 1 minute you can feel very full of energy, the next minute feeling tired, or 1 minute feeling very inspired, and then another moment feeling like the momentum's not there. So just really have patience this month, and especially in the first half of November. Really have patience for yourself, patience for what's going on. When we see people doing things, one of my mantras I try to remind myself with is, everybody is doing the best that they can and where they're at with the tools that they have. That's not to condone or excuse any negative behavior towards you. And it never excuses to stay in a volatile or unhealthy toxic relationship either. But again, that's the individual choice to each person. But other than that, I mean, when you're out there and maybe someone at a restaurant or this and that was a little bit, maybe it's just send white light, and we're all going to get through this. There's so many things to be grateful as well. And it's really important to remember that even when we're having these moments where we feel really down, allow yourself to have that emotion. And then right away, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? When you're walking in this room and walking to that room, what is something in each room that you're grateful for? And so shifting that energy as well. All right, my friends. So I also have a full moon awakening that is happening, even though the full moon is on Saturday, October 31st. I have been very strongly guided to hold it tomorrow, which is Friday, October 30th, 2020, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'll put the link below if you want to register, because such a prominent theme in this one is ancestral healing and the spiritual and physical realm. I'm actually going to be doing channeled messages from your ancestors or whoever comes through that has a message for the highest of all. The intention is always the healing and highest of all. And that will only be for the people pre-registered, obviously, because I wouldn't be able to do it after the live if it's already happened. So all those who are pre-registered, if you want to join and you don't want that part, just send me a message privately and let me know. And that's totally cool. Then I know not to do yours on the live. And if you do want it, then we have it, right? So we're going to be focusing a lot on clearing out a lot of the static noise that's been going on in our minds, that's been going on in our body, looking at the habits and patterns and clearing and releasing that. Like I said, this is the second full moon we have this year, this month. And so this is really a time, like if you skipped over or there was some leftover residual stuff, or you didn't do the inner healing in the beginning of the month, this is your time. This is your second chance. So hop on board. There's also a pay what you can option for anybody going through financial hardship. I'm doing my best to make things accessible and at the same time, having a proper exchange as well, which will benefit you more than there not being any exchange at all. So there's options for everybody, but we're going to be focusing on that. There's going to be a Tao blessing to any area of your life. And so we'll be doing a guided meditation for balancing and stability, and a guided meditation to protect our energy, because right now it's really important. And I feel like one of the reasons I was guided to hold this tomorrow instead of Saturday, the energies are strong. I can feel it simmering and kind of like getting big, and I wanted to be able to implement these tools for people to have accessible so they can implement it, so they're going to be in a way more clearer state and more balanced state than when the energies are at its most potent. And so that's available. If anybody can't join the live, you will get the replay. So if you pre-register, you'll receive the replay after. Even if you wanted your channel message and you can't be on the live, if you've pre-registered and let me know you want your channel message, I will be doing it on the live even though you're not there. It'll still work, don't worry. Like the message will still come through. And so that'll be waiting there for you on the replay. Okay, and so you'll still have time to do it as many times as you want throughout the week. So my friends, that is that. If you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me personally. Again, my name is Corinne Clapham. It's always a pleasure connecting with y'all. And think of 3 things that you are grateful for right now. Much love.